Hello, and welcome to Apple Trees.
Hello, this is the show for all who develop for Apple platforms. We cover news in bit-sized chunks and gather here every 2 weeks to go through latest news and updates and see how it affects our day-to-day activities. So the host of the show, Danis, he's chief software engineer at EPAM. He leads Apple platform competency and always discover new ways to build a productive life on top of Apple platform.
Yeah, thanks. And Irina, lead software developer at EPAM, engineer, enjoying adopting new tech, and currently slightly changed her occupation to work on the brand new baby startup. Baby startup, really. And yes, this is our pilot episode, so please be patient and we'll go through this together. And in order to have something to start with, we will cover the beginning of 2021 for Apple developers. And on today's show, new releases of Apple operating systems and new betas as well. M1 Max, they now get more attention even from the development community. SwiftUI is taking its first steps outside Apple ecosystem. And also we will cover the special events for the developers which Apple hosts right now. Well, not for all developers, for some of the developers.
Okay, so let's start with updates of operation systems. And for iOS 14 and iPad OS, Apple releases minor updates every month, and January was not an exception. It has extended beta due to over holidays, but .4 version was released. It more focused on bug fixes and user-facing features, but there are some interesting. For example, despite iOS, also were released macOS and watchOS versions, minor versions. So for Apple Watch, there is new time to work and subscriptions combinations for workout. It's like audio experience when you walk to see to listen some inspiring stories by guests to make your workout more pleasant. And I think it's very nice bug fix when your notification center or control center is not responding while Zoom is enabled. So fix, I think users love it, I think, really. And the thing that is sounds the most exciting for me on iOS, it's that Apple introduced in this version Find My items in Find My application. So third-party manufacturer developers can register their devices and be a part of this application. From the scratch, it is available only for Belkin devices. And I think here's some job for engineers, but as usual, it's more about Apple certifications, allowance, and etc. here to have so more paperwork than engineering.
Right, and by the way, this Find My network, how the Apple call it, it's a specific program where you need to enroll basically, and you get the access to technical specs. By the way, at the moment you can get technical specs right away. You don't need to register to Made for iPhone portal or any, like, I don't know, secret links you should follow. It's basically available for all the developers. And if you are the manufacturer of any tracking devices, like, I don't know, which you can put on your keyring or whatever, you can enroll to this program, well, quite easily. And one of the thing I read about this Find My network, it's Apple's focus on the privacy and security. So this program is quite kind of interesting. They try to avoid any potential risks of exposing unnecessary information. So if you are interested, just navigate to Apple's website and read the specs. It's kind of interesting topic. But before we move on, I would like to mention one more thing which was updated in iOS 14.4. And I actually, like this fix because I actually found the issue, underlying issue for that. So before that, smaller QR codes were like really hard to scan on the camera. That was like painful, and they fixed that. So thank you. It's not like something which affects developers, but well, it did affect me. And, it's now much easier to scan QR codes holding the phone a little bit back and not like, I don't know, touching the paper in order to scan smaller codes. So thanks for that. But I know that Apple as well updated the previous version of iOS, right, Irina?
Yes, so Apple pretty strong with their deprecation strategy of old versions, but they take seriously this COVID issue, and they made a patch for 12.5 iOS for devices that couldn't be updated to 14th iOS. Due to notice, this patch fixes an issue where explosion notification could incorrectly display login profile language. So issue maybe not so critical, but maybe for statistics, your location, it's important to do some analytics of the COVID and what's happening all over the world.
Yeah, that's that's one of the important, and that actually affects the developers a bit. So. But not just the releases. Apple also publishes first beta version of the iOS 14.5, which will be released soon. I mean, probably early spring. And if we look for the users, from the user's perspective, that's well, partial Face ID unlock, which how they called it, but actually it's like watchOS unlock. If you own iPhone and Apple Watch and you have the phone with the Face ID, then you will be able to unlock your phone wearing a mask, and you will just need the Apple Watch, and you need to enable a setting which will allow that. And for the security and privacy reasons, Apple Watch will receive the notification that the phone was unlocked, and you will be able to lock the phone from the watch. So that's one thing. And yeah, you will not be able to use this feature to authorize Apple Pay or any other payment-related features. So like buying something from the App Store or in-app purchases. So anything which relates to the money or some secret information, Face ID will not be able to unlock. So partially, but again, taking into account that this is something which is well, relates to the users and to their privacy, that's I believe a good thing. I would also mention that one more thing will be mandatory on the iOS 14.5, and that's app tracking transparency. Well, this thing is which Facebook whines about a lot, and they even posted a couple of paper ads in order to like discourage this thing. But to sum up, this thing basically protects user from tracking, or at least it should. For like direct effects, it disables the identifier for advertiser, which is like can be considered as a unique identifier of every iPhone or any other iOS device around there. And if user declines the request, the identifier for advertiser will be zeroed out. But also this thing should prevent application. So basically application should follow the user's decision and stop any tracking outside the application. And we will probably discuss this maybe in some next episodes, because this is actually important topic, and this does not prevent you from getting any mobile analytics on your application. So you still can get details on user actions. This feature prevents application and it basically company which provides this application from tracking you outside the application, like for example Facebook does. So they basically take your actions within application, your actions on the web, and whatever they want to, and they basically build a profile on you. So this is something which will be disabled if users declined the tracking, or at least Facebook should do that. Well, we'll see how it will go. From my perspective, that's actually a very good thing, and I will wait until this happens, and we'll see how other companies will react to that. And again, we will probably have discuss this in later episodes. Apple provides some kind of replacement for this tracking, but making this tracking more private. So basically, your actions will not be used to build a profile on you, which will be sold to advertisers. Yeah.
Yes, topic is so important that even Tim Cook commented on this on his Twitter. So
Right.
I guess it's worth to maybe cover it in a separate episode, more in depth. But I want to back to this partial Face ID feature.
Right.
From one hand, I like it. It will make life easy in some cases, but from other perspective, it gives a lot of ifs. If you have an Apple Watch, if you switch on, if and so on, so on, so on. But anyway, it's better than, for example, be back to fingerprint or like this. And I think maybe the next device will scan our eye to identify if it's you. So, some new cameras and so on.
Yeah, it seems so that at least I believe they already have some prototypes which doing that. I mean, that's probably, or they will provide you like something with the like Apple Glass, which I don't know will be released in a couple of years, and it will do that by itself. But let's see. True. I mean,
app tracking security. So it is going to become mandatory in spring, and in December, in App Store period App Store privacy label. So in App Store, and there was an issue that Apple relied the developers are honest and provide the information as is, but it's appears that lots of application doesn't provide actual information, and now Apple, after all, started to check it somehow. For example, for using some third parties that do particular things, maybe somehow else, and start notify developers that they could be rejected of the store. And how do you think about app tracking transparency? Will they rely on developers are honest?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I've read a couple of articles, and it seems that even Google and Facebook already have some ways of identifying your particular device without identifier for advertiser. And basically this dialog which asks for the tracking should prevent them even from doing that. So they should stop doing that in the first place. I'm not sure. I mean, really, this topic is really important for me, and I'm big privacy advocate, and I'm trying to make all everything what's possible in order to like ensure that we are not collecting more than we need. And well, looking at Facebook, they need everything, and I don't know. I mean, they will try to do something, that's for sure. I even think they will try to scare users. I mean, like they already do, in order to like basically say you have to allow tracking. I mean, for whatever reason, Apple has guidelines updates which prevents that. So you shouldn't be tracking users, or your app features should not depend on the user's decision for this particular question. But I believe, well, this is still an open question if apps will follow that. I hope Apple will do some more stuff in terms of making sure that tracking is checked somehow on App Store review, but I don't know if they will be able to. So it's they still can see the apps from the user's perspective. They do not do any, like, I don't know, reverse engineering or anything else, and they probably they don't check the network traffic, because, well, probably this traffic should be encrypted anyway. And I don't know. I mean, this is interesting, and I think we will talk a little bit later, and we'll see how apps react to that. And for now, I know that Facebook is already trying the onboarding screen, which will explain why they need tracking. And well, at least something, okay. Well, but if they still follow the decision of the user for not track, that will be okay from my perspective. But I think they will be trying to do something more. Let's see.
And myself, personally, I don't maybe care much about my private information. I have no something special. It's just like, I don't think it's very interesting to somebody and very useful information. But in this situation, I'm caring about global warmth. I don't want this terabytes of information to be stored somewhere and processed. So this is a main point for me on this question.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay. Move on. So Apple published library designs for Big Sur. After 2 months, it was released. It has all the fonts, icons, textures, and full screen designs, pop-ups, and all the stuff for Big Sur elements. And library is really big. It has full components, and they released it in Sketch. Users of Photoshop need to wait a little bit for it. And really, when I see this such libraries, I can think, oh, I could be a designer. I can do something. But I think it's better to stop, just to try and not to move further.
Right. Yeah. One thing we forgot to mention is that with the betas of the iOS 14.5, there is a beta of Xcode, and also new Swift is coming. Well, not that new, which will come in June, I hope, with all the async awaits and everything, but still minor things are happening. Yeah.
The good thing is that incremental compilation is improved and speed up. It means that we can develop faster if we don't clean any caches. Also, compilation improvements and a number of code sugar for developers. The thing that I liked, it's improved return builders. If previously we can only skip a return keyword if you have a single expression to return, but now we have more complicated structures that can return. It's like if else, for, and so. Also, now local functions can be nested, and we can have multiple variety parameters in functions, and such sugar always makes me remember the days when I was developing Ruby. It's a little bit style of script languages, but are still strong typed, which is a double plus.
Yeah, true. By the way, if you're interested in what Swift will have soon, I would recommend you learning Rust language. So everybody who is learning Rust now know that like Swift was heavily inspired on that. Let's put it that way. So yeah, well, I believe we will see the concurrency soon, which looks more or less the same, or at least close to that. Okay. We still have some more news to talk about, and I would like to focus a little bit about on the new Apple M1 chips. So yeah, it runs fast, and it's like new shiny thing from Apple, and now you can run Linux on that. So I don't know if you should do that, but well, more and more things are happening to M1, and first of all, yeah, Corellium company did their great job on terms of making that possible. They were able to port all the things required to run Linux, and they basically said it's fully usable. I don't think that means that it well, like, doesn't need anything else, or like perfectly runs there, or uses all the power which provided by M1 chip, but at least you can do that. And another thing I would like to mention is that Homebrew, well, like quite popular package manager for the developers, and not just developers, but as well, is also updated to 3.0.0, and main thing here is the support for the M1 chip, and they kind of updated some more things there, but basically if you use Homebrew and you own Mac with the M1 chip, that's probably time to update to Homebrew version 3. So this is, we see a lot of things happening to that, and that's, I believe, very, very good thing. I mean, I look forward for newer generations of the chips, and I think those will be like quite important for the developers, and I don't know, in a year we will be looking to the Intel chips as something, I don't know, ancient and not that useful, for at least for the developers, but I believe for the users as well.
Okay, so for sure I will update my, if already not my Homebrew. I'm always updating and hoping that it should be faster and have less bugs, but experience says that it's not always that. Okay, so also from our news, Twitter has open sourced their rich text editor. It encapsulates UI text view and uses delegate-based APIs like UIKit do. So I think it could be useful for some applications, but Dennis, how do you think should it be part of standard elements in Xcode, like a rich text editor? So they already have it in their notes, and if they wanted, they could make it.
Yeah, that's again very, very good question. Most of the time I get, well, let's start with that. So UI text view already has an ability to well, basically display rich text. So
attributed text.
Yeah, but it doesn't provide you with the controls to edit, like, I don't know, predefined toolbars or whatever for rich text editing. And sometimes you have to invent something there. And I definitely want to make a statement here. Editing a text is not a simple task, and specifically because we live in a world where there are many languages, and some of these languages are right to left, some of them left to right. Some of them, sometimes you need to write text which has both of them, and also there are a lot of stuff happening with the text while you write. And I think good text editor is something which needs to be done, and I would prefer having text editor from Apple rather than from Twitter, again mostly because the Twitter is actually well, side company, and well, you will need to review the whole source code in order to make sure that it doesn't report the text you write to their some reporting systems. I hope not. Well, but still there could be. And if Apple already has a lot of knowledge on how their text containers work and how the text layout works, they probably can do a lot for the developers here, making some simple APIs and more flexible, I would say. So you will be able to easily edit text. But as of now, if you need something, well, Twitter text editor looks promising. Let's put it that way. It's basically for the UIKit apps, and if you are doing SwiftUI, you will need to fall back to UIKit UIView representable here. So we are developers, we know that SwiftUI is not covering everything. You will still need to fall back to the UIKit for some time. And speaking of SwiftUI, we announced that it's taking its first steps outside the Apple ecosystem. Irina, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah. So guys, Tokamak, I don't know how to read them or pronounce.
Tokamak, right.
Tokamak UI, they ported it to WebAssembly, and actually SwiftUI can be executed in browser now, and being just fast. And you can like describe UI in SwiftUI for web, but if of course you want to do this, I don't know what, but now we have it, and I think it's good in that point that maybe it becomes more widespread and more universal. But something useful in this, I don't think it's a good thing to do, to write web on SwiftUI.
Right, and I think at this point of time, this is basically something like a race between, like, I don't know, Flutter for web and the SwiftUI for web. They are both not usable for that. I mean, I don't know, we might have somebody from the Flutter on the listeners, and they will send us some angry emails saying that, no, Flutter for web is already, like, I don't know, can be used in production, but I don't think so, truly. And neither is SwiftUI. But I would like to comment here, and it's actually a good thing, mostly because they are doing the open source version of the SwiftUI. Yes, it runs on different platform, basically the web platform, but it still shows how SwiftUI works internally. And one more thing here, they basically, another side project which is kind of related is OpenCombine. You can find it on GitHub. It's an open source Combine replacement, and it's basically uses Combine API, and they even have an ability to build your app on top of OpenCombine, and on the platforms which have Combine, like, I don't know, iOS 14, 13, they will run native Combine, and if the platform doesn't support that, it will switch back to the OpenCombine implementation, which uses GCD under the hood. So again, I really like these projects, mostly because they show the internals, and you can basically have some understanding on how it works if you want to, and if not, you can use that, for example, to, I don't know, run the code which you write for the Combine environment, to run that on Linux or on all the iOS releases or whatever you want to. So I hope these projects succeed, or like Apple will look into that and make their solutions open source, which I don't have too much optimism for that, but it still could happen. I mean, looking into Open Combine, I see that it has already a lot of work done, and I don't think it's like fully production ready, but I believe it's quite near that. I mean, it's they do test some, they do have some backlog for that, and they will solve that. And yeah, so we'll see. That's an interesting thing. Okay.
And so have some also updates about Apple events. They started to send mails to selected developers, inviting them to events about developing app clips, widgets, and porting iPad applications to Macs. And they did something like this last year about accessibility features for applications. So maybe if some of you who watching this video was invited to these events or other, you can comment. Maybe they cover other topics as well on their sessions. And also they are invited engineers can talk and ask questions to Apple developers.
Yeah, if you've been to any of these special events, please send us a note. We would like to hear from you. Yeah, a couple more updates here, and these are again, well, more or less for developers. So we already talked about the Corellium company, which ported Linux to Apple M1 chip. They also do some interesting thing in terms of virtual iOS devices, which they now provide to individual users. Well, that's mostly for those who are interested in security research. It's not something that, like, basically to run your app on the virtual device. That's probably not a beneficial way, and probably it will be too expensive to do that. But need to say that previously they won a court with Apple in terms of being actually able to do that. So Apple tried to stop them from providing the virtualized version of the iOS devices, but well, they now do that service. So if you are a security researcher, you might be interested. I don't know, but if you are a security researcher, Apple also provides basically unlocked devices to those, and you will need to sign some forms in order to get that device. But they already have some programs for those who are interested in improving the security for iOS and other devices. And speaking of security, Google's Project Zero posted quite an interesting article on how iMessage changed in iOS 14 and macOS Big Sur. So this Project Zero is guys at Google who are like looking into security. They try to find the security issues and report them to vendors, and they also deal something with Apple platforms. And they researched on how iMessage changed, and it's actually quite interesting in terms of previously there were a couple of exploits for their message. When somebody sends you specially crafted message, could basically hack your phone and get into, I don't know, kernel space and everything just from the simple message. So Apple created one more service which runs outside of the messages process, and it has some security limitations, and it basically tries to check what was sent and unpacks it, and like, I don't know, extracts images, every attachments, verifies that attachments are safe, and only then reports back to the iMessage application. So, and XPC, so the services, remote services, are already there in the iOS, so it's just us developers could not create that, but they do that. And this particular service is a little bit different. It's also have more in terms of protecting from any malicious code escaping from that service. So they kind of expect that this blast door service will be exploited somehow. And if that happens, this service just dies and nothing will be able to escape that and affect the system. And moreover, even improved some address randomization techniques. So basically, like everything you every location of their symbols is changing a lot now more times after the reboot. So again, for us users, it means that our devices are more safe now, and even as I said, that like, Unicode and text processing is something like, very tough for some systems. So previous exploits were basically using some specially crafted Unicode sequences in order to trigger the exploit. So now it shouldn't be, well, we hope it will not be possible any longer. Yeah, well, good thing that that happens, and probably they might add similar things like this blast door service to other critical parts of the operating system. And again, hopefully we will be able to do more with these services in terms of our own applications, like isolating some logic from the UI and everything. Probably that would help us developers as well.
Yes, it sounds great. It's not like some patches or fixes. It's like an architectural change and services for this security holes they implemented.
Yeah, and yeah, that's actually something which I also like in that. I mean, this is this change is basically is done on the more deep level, and I hope they will be doing some more on other stuff as well. And well, again, for the users, that's a good thing, and for us developers as well, we can be more hopefully. Again, we will be having something like this in the future. That's probably it with the like actual news. We have one more thing to tell. Yeah, one more thing. And yeah, we already were talking a little bit about the M1 chip, and we need to talk about Intel. So just like this weekend, Intel, some press release from Intel was leaked. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but basically what Intel did, they posted the great comparison of their new i7 chip against first Apple's processor M1, and they are showing that it's like a new Intel chip is faster in these particular benchmarks. And they, for like, I don't know, the whole industry, like a lot of articles saying that yes, Intel specially crafted a lot of benchmarks in order to make their particular chip look better. And even in that case, on many other benchmarks which they use in the same presentation, M1 better or at least on par with the newer Core i7. So Intel, come on. that's not fun. I mean, and just for you, if you didn't read that, I mean, you can try. And one of the things which they mention is that Intel chip is faster in switching to calendar in Outlook than Apple's M1. Really? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a little bit fun thing from there. But we need to, and yeah, they also compared the longevity from the perspective. So like they compared different versions of their chip when they compared for the performance and for the efficiency. So they used the same M1 chip for all the tests, but they for the performance, they're comparing one version of their Intel processor, and when they try to compare with the battery life, they use the different one. No, that's not cool. And
so they
but overall, we
compare to.
Oh, sorry.
They have what to compare to.
Right, and again, this is the first generation of Apple's processor, and like it's just, I don't know, we can't consider this as a low-end chip. I mean, we kind of should expect something to come up soon with which, I don't know, M1X or M2 or whatever. I hope this will be this spring, but let's compare to that. I think that would be more interesting, and Intel will need to find some new, I would say, benchmarks to compare with. Yeah, and probably that's it, right?
Yes, that's news we have, and we will look for new updates for our next episodes. And now we can like continue our routine job and life and do our job back.
Yes, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward seeing you next time.
Follow us on Twitter or Telegram, and if you have some comments and or agree or disagree with us, please welcome comment on this video.
Yes, thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.